Hey everybody, it is Mel Robbins. Welcome to the live stream. This is where you get a chance to join me on the video and ask any question that is bugging you. So if you feel stuck, if you're overwhelmed, if you are just needing inspiration or a kick in the ass, I am here literally every weekday to help you with whatever it is that you are facing. No issue is too big or too small, and I guarantee you, you are not the only one that is dealing with the block that you are facing in this moment. And if you're inspired and you want to jump on a video with me, the easiest way to do it, because I know you're already asking in the comments, is see the number right there. That is our texting community. You just send a text. It's free. You will get a text back from me. You have to just agree that you want to be part of my texting platform. I'm not going to share your number with anybody, but it is the fastest way to get in contact with me, and it is where we select people to join us on this broadcast. And here's one more thing I want to say. Every single day, we reach millions of people around the world. And there is one thing that I know to be true for certain. When you share what's going on with you, you make an enormous difference in other people's lives because we see ourselves in other people. We relate to the stories and the struggles that other people are sharing. And I know that you are going to relate big time to the question that we're going to deal with today. It involves relationships and being somebody who shuts down in order to avoid confrontation. We've all been there at some point. If this is something that you struggle with or your partner struggles with, believe me, you do not want to miss this. So I'm so glad that you are here today. Let's go to St. Petersburg, Florida, where Chantel is waiting to ask me a question. Chantel, welcome to the live stream. Hi. So you wrote in with a question, but why don't you just tell me a little bit about the issue that you're dealing with?
So my girlfriend and I have been dating for like a little over 2 years. And right now with this whole pandemic issue, I think I have the biggest communication problem in our relationship. She's very expressive and she wants to know how I feel about things and what I'm thinking. And I internalize a lot of things. I don't want to communicate. Growing up, that really wasn't something that was taught. Like everyone that I have seen, like growing up, my family, everyone just shuts down, withdraws, and okay. Abuela, estoy en un meeting.
Oh, that's right. I'm not seeing that. Who is that?
Okay, my grandmother.
Hi, Grandma. How are you? Welcome to the live stream, Grandma. She's adorable. I love her hot pink pants. Amazing. We love you. Thank you for taking care of her. Adorable. Okay.
Oh, sorry about that.
So keep going. So you grew up in a family where you were witnessing the adults shutting down to avoid conflict?
Yeah, everyone shuts down, withdraws, no one wants to talk, and then a few days or weeks or even months go by, and then it's like, okay, just move on and act like nothing ever happened. That's what I witnessed, and that's what I have been doing, and I've gotten a lot better, reading some books and watching videos and stuff and just learning more about how to communicate better. But it's like, even like right now, because I'm not working and just being in each other's face 24/7, it's like, okay, no, I withdraw. I just, I don't even want to talk about it. And I'll go, I just want to sleep. And it's like, just let the days go by. Hopefully this will be over soon. And it just doesn't go over well with her. So.
And what is her reaction when you withdraw? When you withdraw, do you just get silent or do you leave the room? What's your mode of withdrawing?
I just feel like when there's like a lot of tension between us, I just want to go out for a walk or something, or even just lay in bed, and I don't even want to talk. And she wants to try and work things out and like, let's talk about this. What's bothering you? How can we find a solution? And I'm like, just forget it. I internalize a lot of things. And so she'll say something and I immediately jump to the conclusion that she doesn't love me anymore, or this isn't going to work, or something's wrong with our relationship. What's going on? And she's more of a like, let's find a solution, and I'm like, I freak out and I like, just withdraw. And yeah.
Well, so Chantel, there's so much that I want to share with you that is going to change not only your relationship, but it's going to change your life, because it's going to give you an understanding of why you're doing what you're doing. And it's going to give you a couple simple tools that you can use to start to crack the code on being able to both draw boundaries for yourself emotionally, so that you feel supported, while you're also working on becoming a better communicator. Okay. So this question is so relevant for so many couples, and I'm so proud of you for sharing it. The first thing I want to do is I want to acknowledge you, because you zeroed in on the reason why you do this. Every single one of us learned how to communicate positively or negatively based on what we saw growing up. And it takes hold in us before you even realize. Most of this patterning is what I'm going to call it, that you have absorbed. You absorbed by the age of 5. So if what you saw in your household is that the moment there was conflict, people shut down, this is a pattern. It's neither good nor bad. It's just a pattern. We all learned our parents' patterns. Our parents were just doing the best that they could. It's not a matter of whether or not your parents are good parents or bad parents. This is just how your parents and your caregivers dealt with the stress and conflict in their life. They avoided it. And so it's no surprise that you now are an adult feeling stuck. And the reason why you feel stuck is because you are stuck in a pattern. And the reason why I like talking about it in terms of patterns is because it's not personal. The great thing about patterns is once you recognize that you have one and you can identify it, and you can identify the situations where this pattern takes over like that, and suddenly next thing you know, you're sleeping in your bed instead of talking to your girlfriend. Once you identify the pattern, you see that it's broken because it's making you feel broken right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you don't have control over yourself. And so what I want you to first understand is, number one, you're really smart because you know the origin of this. Number two, you simply have a pattern that's broken now that you're an adult. And number three, you can replace patterns that are broken, because you're not broken. You just have a pattern that are broken. Okay, so how does that make you feel knowing it's simply a pattern and we can replace it?
Yeah, that feels really good. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm learning to do that now at 31.
Hey, you know what? I'm 51. I'm 2 decades ahead of you. There's I am dealing with every day. It seems like I see another pattern. And so here's the thing that I want you to understand about patterns. Patterns like this, patterns of behavior, they are not stored up here. They are in your nervous system. There's a term called ghosts in the nursery, which refers to something that psychologists talk about, which basically means that when you were itty bitty, tiny, and there was conflict, and I'm not talking like punching or anything in your household, but just like people arguing, okay? So when you experience conflict, your nervous system knew people were fighting. And then what you saw with your eyes is you saw everybody shut up and leave the room. What do you remember your caregivers doing whenever there was an argument?
Not talking, my stepdad in the room, watching TV, eating fast food, my mom, downstairs doing her own thing, and they won't ever talk about anything, and then like days go by, and I guess once everyone feels like, okay, it's over, let's move on, and they don't ever revisit why they argued in the first place or where the issue was. It's kind of like, let's just move on and pretend like nothing ever happened. That's my relationship with my mom right now still, you know, or, you know, she'll do that and like spend months not talking to me. And so like, you know, I'm trying not to do that.
And guess what?
My relationship.
Well, and here's the opportunity. I guarantee you this is something your mother learned. And so this is this is a generational pattern. And so the opportunity here is for you to not only be able to heal yourself and to be able to strengthen your relationship both to yourself and with your girlfriend, but you also have an opportunity to break a generational pattern, which is super amazing. And it doesn't mean that what your mom, like that your mom's a bad person. This is just what she has learned to do.
For sure. My grandma did the same thing, and I'm sure her mom did the same. Yeah.
So here's what I want you to understand about your nervous system. Given that you saw this growing up, you saw them separate, you saw them not talking. What happens now that you're an adult, now that you've seen this, and this is what was modeled for you, is that whenever you're in a situation where you start to feel, uh-oh, my girlfriend's getting upset with me, uh-oh, she wants to talk, uh-oh, we just bickered about something. Yeah. Before you even think, I got to talk, your nervous system remembers what it was like to be a kid in a household when your parents were about to argue with each other or when your parents got upset with each other. And what you witnessed was separation. So before you even think, what happens is your nervous system goes, oh, wait a minute, I recognize this. This is a moment of conflict. I know what to do. I leave when this happens because that's what I saw. And
run away.
Right?
Yeah.
It happens before you even think about it. And so here's what I want you to understand. You and I can talk about this very easily. Because we're dealing with your nervous system, I'm going to give you a plan that's going to involve two things. The first thing it's going to involve is things that you can do when conflict arises with your girlfriend in order for you to be able to be more constructive and be more connected with her to resolve conflict. That's number one. The second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you some simple things that you can do to start to get back in touch with yourself. Okay, because this is going to be about you creating new programming, just like a computer. You got your mom and your stepdad and your grandmother's programming in you. We need to update the operating system, okay? And so what I want you to do is, first of all, are you comfortable talking through something that is a conflict? You know what I mean? Like, does talking about it, what do you feel in your body if your girlfriend wants to talk through something and it feels like there's tension? What do you feel?
I just automatically go to, I jump to conclusions, and I start thinking that maybe she's not, even this is not even true. I just make these assumptions that you know, she's not loving me anymore, she's falling out of love, or you know, this relationship is damaged and maybe we can't fix it, and you know, just dumb stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, and it's not dumb, because why do you think you equate any kind of disagreement with a lack of love?
I don't know.
Think back to your childhood. Why do you think disagreeing means lack of love? Is it because your dad and mom divorced?
Well, they divorced, and you know, they fought a lot growing up. A lot of arguing, a lot of verbal abuse, you know. So I don't ever want a relationship like that. Our relationship is not unhealthy. You know, I've really strived to try and be more, I mean, not like do anything that's gonna create any kind of like unhealthy relationship, but you know, my inability to communicate, you know, is doing that, you know. Well, and it frustrates her a little, and
it frustrates you too.
It does. I really wish I could be more open about how I feel.
Well, I can boil this down to you. You ready?
Yeah. Let's do it.
I think you made a decision a long time ago. And the decision that you made is that couples that fight break up, and couples that don't talk about what's upsetting them stay together.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all that this is. You saw two relationships, and the one that went the longer distance is between your mom and your stepdad. And what you witnessed is they just didn't fight, and somehow they survived. My mom and dad fought a lot, and there was a lot of arguing and verbal abuse. They broke up. And so you have equated fighting and conflict with whether or not a relationship survives.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising to me that because you love your girlfriend and because you want this to work, you would adopt the pattern from the couple that you saw that lasted. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And since this is all tied to situations when you're about to start fighting, your nervous system is reminded of this paradigm of this couple fought and broke up, this couple didn't, and they stayed together. And so your nervous system immediately opts for not saying anything. Now, this is a huge insight because it boils it down to something really simple. And what you have to understand based on the research, I'm imploring you, is that the healthiest and happiest long-term marriages are between couples who actually fight. Because knowing how to have a constructive conflict brings you closer together. And so knowing how to have a disagreement and still be able to stand with your partner and work through it, that's what will lead you to not only feeling good about yourself, because then you can express yourself freely without the fear that somebody's not going to love you, but it will also make you and your partner stronger, because you know through the ups and downs of life, you are able to work through these things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Terrific. So let me give you some advice for a couple things that you can do. First of all, you said you were reading some books. So what have you tried that has worked so that I can build on it?
Well, right now I'm reading Unfuck Yourself. You know, that's really good. I've read a couple books.
What are you learning though? What is it that's learned that's made a difference for you?
That it's all about your thoughts. You know, learning to take control of your thoughts, and that will lead to you having more control over your emotions and your actions. That, you know, I struggle with, because a lot of times I do think negatively. I just jump to negative thinking a lot.
Well, one thing that you can do for that is I did this free course a year ago called Mindset Reset. It's 30 days long. It's totally free. You should retake it if you've already taken it.
Yeah, I'm going to.
You should use it, the 30 days of videos. Just go to melrobbins.com/mindset reset. It's 30 days of free videos and a workbook. And you should use just your negative thoughts about relationships as the thing that you're going to decode and reprogram in your mind, okay? Because we already know one negative thought you have, that couples that fight break up, and couples that don't fight and give each other the silent treatment, they stay together. It's actually not true. And so you've got to change that opinion. The second thing is that you have decided that when your girlfriend has something that she's in conflict with you about, that it means that she doesn't love you.
Right.
The fact is, if she's coming to you about it, it means she loves you and wants to work through it. And so here's what I want you to start. First of all, does she know that you want to have a breakthrough in this?
Of course. We talk about that all the time. Like once I break through that whole, like, I'm not talking and what's the point? There's no point to this and this is useless. Why talk about it and blah, blah, blah. Eventually we'll talk and I'm like, yeah, I do have an issue with, communicating, and I do want to change that. I want to be better.
You don't have an issue with communicating. You have an issue with being loved.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
I don't know. I just don't think I'm worthy in some ways. I don't know. Like before I met her, I was a devoted Christian, and it really took a lot for me to be open to this homosexual lifestyle thing, because it's wrong. It's not. And then the people that you think love you and are there for you kind of turn their back because you're a homosexual. And so when the people you thought were your tight circle, they were there for you, and they were they love you and they love to see you grow and get better, and I was doing great. But then it's okay, a huge part of me is missing because I'm envisioning myself marrying a man, having a husband and having a family, and that's not what I want. That's not what I feel attracted to, and then I meet her and it's a huge issue. And so, I left, because I want to be happy too. Why can all of them date and be in relationships and get married and have kids, and then I can't because, I'm not attracted to that, it's just stupid. So, so I left and I moved to St. Petersburg to get away and start a new life and be happy for once.
Well, I'm really proud of you, because moving away and choosing to be happy is probably the first decision that you have ever made where you chose yourself.
Yeah. Instead of what everyone else wants or thinks it's the best thing for me.
Yes, and it is the hardest thing in life to do, to stop making decisions that betray who you are for the sake of what some church says, or the sake of what your friends say, or the sake of what your family expected. And so you should know that you have done the hardest thing in the world for anybody to do, which is to recognize who you are at your core and to choose yourself. And one of the things that is going to be remarkable when you stop going silent, when you argue with your girlfriend, and when you stop using the silent treatment, is that it will be a way for you to choose yourself again. Because I think that when you go silent, it is two things. It's both unconscious because it's what you saw and you want this to work. And so this is the pattern that you saw with your caregivers. That's number one. But number two, it's also the way you test her. So if you go away from an argument, you're taking control by removing yourself and seeing if she actually loves you enough to come and find
And
you.
she's done that. And I think I have used up all of those chances. And now it's like, I'm not going to chase after you now. I'm not going to do what you want me to do now.
So now the stakes are really high. And so this is the moment that we all change. When you become super present to what a broken pattern is costing you, that is when we all decide to change, because change has to be deeply personal. And so I want you to also realize that just like claiming and choosing yourself and living fully open as a gay woman was a way to choose yourself and to stop betraying yourself, I want you to do the same thing with this communication pattern. Because every time you leave the room, every time you tell yourself that she doesn't love me and she's going to leave me if we fight, and every time you do this, you are actually betraying yourself. Because what I see is I see a 31-year-old woman who wants to have her voice, who wants to be able to say what is going on with you, who wants to talk about what she's feeling, because for so long you didn't. And so this is your chance with somebody who loves you to start practicing, learning how to choose and honor yourself by giving yourself the permission and the space to say what you're feeling. And so there are a couple things that I think will help you a lot. First of all, I think the two of you should work together to come up with a sentence that you say when you are arguing. And maybe it is something like, babe, I am not going to leave you. I am standing right here. I am not going anywhere. And we need to talk about this. And you need to stand here with me. Like maybe what you need is just that reassurance up front. I love you. This is why I'm telling you why I'm upset. Let's work through it. Maybe you need that as a safe word, so to speak, to cue you that this is a moment to stay. Okay? The second thing that I want you to do is I want you to always use the I statements. So when we get into arguments with the people that we love, or with anybody for that matter, and we start going, well, you do this, and then you raise your voice, and then you do this thing, and right? Mm-hmm. You always, always, always want to use I feel. So when you start to do this to her, but when you do that and you there's three fingers pointing back at you, and the power is always right here. And so when you're arguing, I know it's uncomfortable for you to talk about your feelings. You can say, I am scared to say this because I'm scared you're going to leave. I'm scared to say this because my mom and stepdad never talked about anything. So this is new for me. You can always talk about what's going on for you. I feel sad when this happens. I feel scared. I feel invisible. I feel worthless. Because a lot of us, when we start arguing, we argue about the bullshit on the surface, but really what's going on is something underneath is getting triggered. And so for you to always anchor in choosing what you're feeling and choosing to say it out loud, it's a way for you to live even more openly and more fully and be more connected to her. The final thing I want to give you is that if this is a really intense argument about something, and you really do need a second to cool down, the only way that it is, I think, respectful to yourself and to your partner, if you need to go do something and remove yourself, is to say, I need 30 minutes. You put a timeline on it. And then you say, and then I promise I will come back and I will resolve this with you. And then I just thought of one more thing. Because this is a situation where your nervous system has taught you to shut up in situations where you feel threatened, and any kind of disagreement makes you feel threatened to your core, you might find it helpful to say, can I just take a second and write how I'm feeling down on a piece of paper? Because in retraining yourself to be able to have conversations that feel full of conflict or make you feel vulnerable or uncertain or scared that she's going to leave, you may not be able to get it all out because you're going to be managing everything that she's doing. So you might want to start by saying, can I just take a minute and just start writing down what I'm feeling so I have it in front of me so that I tell you everything?
Yeah.
What do you think about those steps?
I think those are very useful. I think I can definitely implement those in my life and see how that's going to change things, my relationship with her,
Well, the one thing I know in talking to you is that you're going to be okay. And you are going to have a life full of love because you're doing the really hard work right now of learning how to love yourself. And if you can leave a church and you can leave a friend group and you can leave perhaps some relatives and you can choose yourself and live your life openly and fully as a gay woman, then you are 95% of the way there. It's just now about letting somebody else in to all the things that you're feeling. And you've just faced a ton of assholes who rejected you because of their own bigotry. And so I'm not surprised that this is a really tender moment in your own personal transformation. But every time you choose to stand in that moment that's terrifying, and you choose yourself and you choose to express what you're feeling and you choose to stand there and love yourself enough, you get stronger and stronger and stronger.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I know that this conversation is going to help a ton of people. And I want to know, I don't want this to be the last time that I see you. So I want to know how these tools are working. And if the two of you ever want to come on and chat about how we can take this a step further and go even deeper and more connected, I'd be happy to be there for you.
Awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate this a lot.
Well, I really appreciate you, and I'm really proud of you. I just want to thank Chantel from the bottom of my heart for sharing something that she is personally struggling with. I know so many of you can relate to exactly what she's talking about because you're either her or you're with somebody who is struggling to not give you the silent treatment, struggling to express their feelings. And so I'm super excited for all of the possibilities that could open up in her life and her relationship. And I am also grateful that she shared the story about how she left and moved so that she could be happy. Because you know what? You only get one life. And why we waste so much of it trying to be somebody that we're not for the sake of pleasing people that don't even really love you because you're not being your full self. They don't even know you. And then the other thing that I have to just say is that it is truly courageous to be yourself in a world that wants you to be something else. And so I hope that that conversation made you think about where in your life you're not being true to yourself, where in your life you're jamming yourself into some box that isn't for you because of your friends or because of your family. And I hope that you were inspired by that conversation to choose yourself. If you are thinking, how the hell do I get advice? How do I ask Mel this question? I got a problem. I'm overwhelmed. I'm stuck. No questions too big or too small. The text number is right there. That's how you do it. This is how we find folks to come on, is through our texting platform. It's free. Just send us a text. I will send you a text back so that you can opt in. And then I promise you, we don't send your phone number to anybody, or we're not selling you anything. This is simply the most intimate and fastest way to stay connected. In case nobody else tells you today, let me tell you, I believe in you. I love you. And I am here to help you take the simple steps forward in your life so that you can truly get the most out of your life and your relationships. I'll see you tomorrow.